Warning: All Things Crime is a true crime production that may contain violent or disturbing material. Viewer or listener discretion is advised. It's crazy. What an amazing day. I mean, you have all this stuff happening with people just blazingly breaking the law, but then on the other side, you have Bill Cosby, who yes, he's an icon in both Hollywood and in the comic circles, but he clearly raped some women, and in the process, which is just nuts. We know that he's guilty. He admitted that he's guilty, but he is a free man today because the prosecutors didn't give him due process. Hey, everybody, this is Jared, your host with All Things Crime, coming at you with part 2 of my June 30 rant, and hope you guys enjoy it. That's my first soapbox. So here's another one. Now, I want to talk a little bit also about the rule of law. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I've been around a while. I've been doing, like I said earlier, I've been helping investigators solve cases for going on 12 years now, 10, 12 years. So I've got a fair amount of experience in this, but with the caveat that I'm not a lawyer, I just want to lay this out for you. I am going to find a lawyer to help me break this down better and really describe this. And so I think future episodes of All Things Crime. One more reason for you to subscribe is because this is coming, and I think it's going to be amazing when all the details really come out about what is going on. And so the other thing that I want to talk about today is Bill Cosby. Now, for those of you that haven't heard yet, so today's the 30th of June in 2021, and Bill Cosby, it was announced early this morning, he's been in prison because he was convicted for sexually assaulting, I think 5 women or 6 women, something like that, but one in particular that was recent, but they date back for decades. So some of those are really a long time ago. Well, before I talk about what happened, the bottom line is Bill Cosby is now out of prison. He's already done a press release and everything, and his lawyers appealed the decision, and the Pennsylvania Supreme Court vacated his sexual assault charges. And so he's a free man. And not only did they vacate the sexual assault charges, but they also said he can't be retried. This is and this was an amazing surprise decision that came out and caught everybody off guard. That as far as news people and even people that track these kind of cases for a living. So this was totally unexpected. Sexual assault to me is one of the most heinous crimes that you can possibly do. If especially a man assaults a woman in a sexual manner, to me that is just some of the worst. And rape, especially raping of younger women, is just disgusting. And these guys deserve whatever they get. So, having said that, Bill Cosby, we know because he admitted that he had sexually assaulted a lot of these women. Now, how that happened though is when this all first came out, he hadn't admitted anything yet. And so just looking at the evidence, the prosecuting attorney decided that he did not have enough evidence to actually get a conviction. And this is a really important thing that a lot of people don't understand. Sometimes if the prosecuting attorney and the detectives determine that they don't have enough to actually get a conviction, then there's no point in taking this to trial. Now, some of you have heard of what's called double jeopardy. Double jeopardy basically says if you are tried and you are found innocent or you are found not guilty, there's a big difference between the two of those. Even if you're guilty, but you're found not guilty because of the lack of evidence, the prosecution, the reason that our system works so well, is the prosecution has to present enough evidence and be convincing enough to be beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay, that's a pretty high standard, especially criminally. Well, the prosecuting attorney had determined that he did not have enough evidence to get a conviction of beyond a reasonable doubt on what Bill Cosby had done. So they reached an agreement. This prosecuting attorney and Bill Cosby reached an agreement that if he participated in the civil case, that he would not be brought, have charges brought against him criminally. So there's a difference between criminal and civil. And, you know, I don't want to get into that because, again, I'm not a lawyer, but in agreeing to be deposed and to answer questions and everything in the civil case. Now, a lot of questions can be asked in a civil case that you don't have the right to plead the fifth. Now, the fifth is basically that you're not going to incriminate yourself. So Bill Cosby agreed to that. And so he was forced to answer. And yes, it came out, he admitted that he had sexually assaulted some of these women, the one in particular, the most recent one, my understanding at least. So that came out civilly. Now he paid out, I don't know how much, but probably millions of dollars in civil damages to all of these women that he had sexually assaulted. But what happened was the prosecuting attorney that he had an agreement with left, and the guy that replaced him decided that he was going to use, I mean, I'm assuming it's a he, but it might be a she, but I'm going to say he just because I don't know. But this prosecuting attorney decided that he was going to use that civil deposition against Bill Cosby criminally, and he charged him with sexual assault and took it to trial. And so not only did he do that, but he also brought in some of the past victims. Now, these past victims weren't there for what Bill Cosby was being tried for. And, you know, the statute of limitations was gone. And so they had no criminal case against Bill Cosby, but they were brought in as witnesses, kind of character witnesses. And of course, they bashed the crap out of Bill Cosby and his character. And that, they felt, swayed the jury to the point that they convicted him. And so he was convicted and sentenced to 3 to 10 years. And he was actually in prison for 2 years. But the amazing thing is, and there's a huge ruling on this that's just come out, and I think people are just digesting it today, but I'm sure we're going to hear about this all over the place. Well, the amazing thing is the Pennsylvania Supreme Court went back through that, obviously with Bill Cosby's lawyer. They had filed for to get it all thrown out based on all of these things, and they were right. So even though we know that Bill Cosby did rape these women, okay, the problem is Bill Cosby's due process. Now, due process is the cornerstone of our entire judicial process. Due process means you have the right to, you know what, I'm going to slaughter this because, again, I'm not a lawyer, but essentially due process means you have the right to certain actions in your defense. And some of that includes being able to throw out evidence that shouldn't be part of a criminal case. And that's the case of, again, using Bill Cosby's civil deposition against him criminally, especially when there was an agreement with the prior prosecutor. So it's crazy. What an amazing day. I mean, you have all this stuff happening with people just blazingly breaking the law. But then on the other side, you have Bill Cosby, who, yes, he's an icon in both Hollywood and in the comic circles, but he clearly raped some women, and in the process, which is just nuts. We know that he's guilty. He admitted that he's guilty, but he is a free man today. because the prosecutors didn't give him due process. And that to me is actually refreshing. Now, I'm not happy that a known rapist is now out of prison. I'm not happy about that at all. But the due process trumps everything else. You have to follow the law, and this prosecutor clearly didn't. So the bottom line is, because his due process was violated, Bill Cosby's a free man. And, you can't bring out past victims to taint the jury in a particular case. The prosecutor has to provide specific evidence about that particular crime. And if you can't prove that particular crime, then what he's done in the past doesn't matter. It does in the sentencing phase, but not in the actual criminal trial. And so that's just something that I wanted to bring out to you guys today. And I hope it gets the wheels turning in your heads. And I hope you are thinking about this stuff, because it's a fascinating thing. I did a poll on LinkedIn a few weeks ago and talked about, what's the most important part of the criminal process. And the answers were really interesting, but this kind of also got me thinking about doing things like this, talking about specific cases maybe, but more importantly, even kind of the events of the day, because it's amazing how our criminal process and our criminal justice system is involved in our everyday lives. And sometimes it's to our benefit, and sometimes if we're doing wrong things, then it's going to be to our detriment. But we make a lot of decisions based on this criminal process. And if the criminal process and the rule of law and due process and things like that are not followed by everybody, then the system kind of starts to break down. And honestly, we can't allow that. We have to have the process. The process has to be fair. It has to be fair to everybody. And I know there's people out there screaming about equity and everything. And as far as the judicial process goes, it should 100% be equitable. And that's why Lady Justice has a blindfold on, is because it shouldn't matter what gender you are, what race you are. It shouldn't matter any of that. Everything should be the same. And until it is, then obviously we all have a lot of work to do. But today it worked. And, like I said, what a day. I hope that you guys will subscribe and continue to listen. And I hope you really enjoy these episodes, especially some of the guests that I've had on. And but if you have any feedback or comments, please send them to me, and I will. Especially if you have any questions, particularly for like the attorney that I'm going to have on to talk about due process and this Bill Cosby case. So, but I definitely appreciate it. I appreciate all my viewers and listeners, and I hope you guys have a great day. Please enjoy the 4th of July that's coming up in just a couple days, and celebrating our great country. And, appreciate you, and hope to subscribe and share with your friends, and talk to you soon.